What's going on, guys? So, I wanted to do something ever so slightly different, but frankly, this is SHOKY Reviews, which means I review things. And I wanted to talk about Dave Chappelle's newest special, The Closer, which I literally just watched 10 minutes ago. And, good God, my hair. I need a haircut. Either way. So, I know that there is a lot of controversy going around right now on the internets about the special, and I know that they had all the issues with Netflix, with the head writer on Dear White People, getting really angry at this special and throwing a fit, and then a quote-unquote whistleblower leaking how much Dave, or at least how much Netflix paid for the special. Doesn't mean Dave made that money, and meant that they forked over that much money to make the special happen. Specials aren't, all that money doesn't just go to the creator. Doesn't really just straight up go to the comedian. That was a fuck ton of money, but we don't know what the contract was. Either way, that was wrong. That person was fired. And then I believe yesterday or Thursday, I don't remember which day, 1,000 Netflix employees all walked out in protest because this comedy special came out and was offensive and attacking a particular community, and it wasn't. And I just wanted to talk about it real quick because it's been a while since I watched the Dave special. I've always liked Dave Chappelle, always thought he was really fucking funny. Even back for the Chappelle show, where he was really, really pushing boundaries between, races, between white and black and gay and straight and all those things. He was just pushing the boundaries because it was comedy. That's what comedians do. They find the cracks of society and they try to do a thing and make it funny. Especially if it's the most serious thing in the world, they must find a way to break it down to its bare minimum, because there's got to be something funny there. George Carlin was very classic at this, and I know this may get blocked just for me stating this, because you got to remember, George Carlin, for those who don't possibly remember, did a thing that just said rape can be funny. And he said, "You don't believe me? Imagine Elmer Fudd raping Porky Pig." There you go. That is the entire fucking joke right there. The title, Rape Can Be Funny. The punchline, exactly how it would be for most people, including myself, as an actual rape victim. So fuck you, YouTube censors, for coming down on people whenever they just mention a word. The whole special, Dave is getting to a very, very fine point about a very broad topic, and he has been wrongly attacked, at least within this special. In previous ones, when he's talking about what he calls the alphabet people, the LGBTQITTA plus, I think I got most of those letters right. I'm not trying to be derogatory. I literally cannot keep up with all of it. Just the LGBT community. Which I'm pretty familiar with, as I have 2 mothers-in-law, thanks to my wife. I've got some pretty cool gay friends that I've known for a very long time. I don't specifically know any trans people, at least that I'm close to, but I know people who have transitioned that I used to talk to quite a lot, and those two things don't have to do with each other. It's just the way life has worked. And throughout most of the special, he's going hard at the differences between what black people in America and kind of in the world have gone through versus what trans people have gone through, and how it applies to the world around them and how they treat people because of what they've been through. And he does make some pretty quote-unquote offensive jokes. Once again, he's a comedian. That's his job. It is what it is. He opens up with an incredibly offensive joke, and it's incredible. And the thing is that comedians, almost nothing is sacred. And that doesn't mean that they don't have things that are important to them. It's just that they generally see the world as there is no thing that is so untouchable that I can't find a funny aspect to it. Now, his whole thing was literally being a black man in America who is being attacked by a different minority, being trans people. You know, calling him transphobic and homophobic and this, that, and the other for many, many, many years now. He even talked about way back when, 16 years ago, when it all kind of started. And he also talks about feminism and how he is technically, by definition, a feminist. I think when you go to the true definition of feminism, not what it's been turned into through this modern movement, not the early feminist movement, but the modern feminist movement, it's a very different animal, and it has very different outcomes. I'm a believer that modern feminism is more damaging to women than original feminism, and the concept, the original idea of feminism. It's doing more damage than it's doing good. Now, that's just my opinion. I think Dave shares the same opinion, because he literally says, "What the hell are y'all doing?" It's like, and then of course he makes, tiny spoiler for the special, he makes a joke, is like, y'all need someone in charge. In fact, y'all probably need a man in charge if you really want to get this done right. I volunteer. And yeah, it's a great joke, realistically, because the joke would be, is like, at least the women involved are not getting it done the way they would like, and it's making them angry. It's like, well, just put a man in charge, it'll take care of it, right? That's the joke. That's the joke. That's not a thing. That's the joke of it. Now, there's many other jokes that he could touch on within that subject matter that he didn't go after, and I've heard other comedians do. I've even heard more like news-related comedians go after, and people, you know, they call Dave sexist, well, I guess not really racist, but sexist, homophobic, transphobic, all these things. He hates women, he hates trans people, and then he literally tells this incredible story of a very good friend of his who was also a comedian who was trans. Now, he didn't know this person when they went through a transition. He knew them after, and then learned more about them as they got to know each other, and then how they got involved together in comedy, and then through a sad, tragic end, and how that came about. And then I think what is happening, just from, you know, watching this and watching a few online people kind of yell about it, I believe that the end of the special, like the closer of the closer, is where people are having the biggest problem with it. And I think it's because it's kind of something that he gets into, where they have, and this is a broad they term, not just referring to the specific community. This is anybody who is having this reaction, is having an emotional reaction without having logical thought behind it. Just being angry first instead of thinking about what was said. And if you followed throughout the entire special, see, a lot of people are watching the clips out of context, and that's a big problem. You take the clip out of context in almost any comedy show, you're gonna lose the point, because half the time they've made the point earlier, probably 10 or 15 minutes earlier in the special, and then they bring it back around at the end to this point. He did a whole lot of callbacks throughout the thing. I mean, if you laid out the timeline of it, there's callbacks all over the place throughout the special, and this is why Dave is a master of what he does. And even at one point, he talks about a tweet from this friend in response to Dave being attacked by this community on Twitter. And that particular tweet, I definitely want you guys to see the thing. If you have seen it, you'll understand how much that person did mean to Dave, despite what the community would say otherwise. Um, and, you know, other comedians have been under attack for things they say. That's just the nature of it. I mean, you go all the way back to people like Lenny Bruce, who were getting arrested in comedy clubs for cursing in public. Not necessarily the topic, but just for cursing. Just saying the word fuck. Or talking about sex, which was not a thing that people talked about openly back in those days. And Lenny Bruce was hilarious. Now, it was a very different time, but the rules still apply. Being taken down, even in a legal sense, because they were taking his ass to jail just for talking out loud and saying something that some people would find offensive. It's the same problem, just applied to a new day. Now, instead of just the two beat cops who were outside the club waiting for him to screw up, now it's the Twitter mob. It's the YouTube commenters. It's the Facebook people, the fact checkers, as it were. And they're the ones who are destroying so much of society because you're not allowed to just talk about something. You're not allowed to speak. And even if you do speak, regardless of what the words ultimately are intended for, that particular speak could be labeled by some as being hateful, when in fact it's not. And when you literally hear the person who said the words explain, I'm not saying this with malice. I'm saying this because it's how I see things, it's how I feel, and I'm pointing it out because one thing comedians definitely do is point out the absurdity of life. That's one thing that, say, like Jerry Seinfeld, what's the deal with whatever? That was the point. Literally pointing out the absurdity of everyday life. Like, why is this a thing that's like this? And for Dave, he's pointing out how he is being attacked because they claim that he sees himself as better and therefore is, as they say, punching down on someone lower than you. So they're, you know, always be punching down because that is like, but to punch down, you have to feel that the person or people you're talking about are lesser than you. And if you don't actually feel that, then you're just being accused of something you're not doing. And I guess imparting that feeling to others is nearly impossible. You know, I've been accused of very similar things, being transphobic and everything like that. I've talked about this earlier in a video. In a way, I didn't get into the details, but the last video rant that I did, I talked about how certain people said things about me without knowing me, without having any context to the conversation at all, or even having my own point of view, just attacked me for just saying something and called me a lot of terrible names and accused me of doing a lot of things that I didn't even do or say. And that's minuscule compared to what people like Dave Chappelle and other comedians have gone through for decades, you know. And he makes a lot of good points, whether it's straight up political or whether it's racially biased, whether it's sexual biased or anything like that. He makes a lot of good points. And there were parts that myself and Miss Shoky laughed our asses off. And then there's other parts where we went, oh, damn. Like, I wish I had recorded our reactions, but then you'd have to deal with copyrights of the thing in the background. But he ends with saying, you'll see it, or if you haven't seen it already, he said, look, to the LGBTQ, all the extra letters, people, I'm done. I'm done talking about y'all until you stop reacting like this. He's like, and it's not that he's saying, I give up, I'm done insulting you, I'm done do this, you're right. He literally is saying, you are wrong for behaving this way, and therefore I'm not going to continue to bring attention to it because of the way you're reacting, the way you are acting. And it's not that he's attacking these people. He's pointing out the truth. He's pointing out what has happened. He's pointed out the things he has experienced directly for just doing his job. It's an absurd job, but it's a job. You know? He's there to push the boundaries. He's there to say the things that a lot of people are too scared to say out loud because the little guy can be canceled super easy. The little guy can have the videos taken down. The little guy can literally just be disappeared on social media for posting an image or posting or retweeting something, and you can just be gone. This is Dave fucking Chappelle. It's his last Netflix special, and he was going out with a bang. Now, was it his best special ever? Not necessarily. Was it his last one on Netflix and he was going to get his point across? Yes. And he said things that a lot of people are going to be very angry about, a lot of people are angry about, and a lot of people have taken out of context, and a lot of people did not want to hear an explanation for. And that's the problem. When you shut down conversation, you get nowhere. If you can't talk about things, if you can't talk through things, then there's no point to it at all. If you can't just sit down and have a conversation with somebody about an absurdity of life that we currently live through, and even the absurdity of comparing that to the past, then what's even the point? What are you here for? If you're going to shut down opposing views to you and only live in an echo chamber, you're not even having a conversation. You're just hearing the words you like to hear. And sometimes life is about hearing the words that you don't like, and then talking back and saying, hey, I don't like what you said, and here's why. And then that person said, I understand your feelings, but this is why I feel this way. And now you're having a conversation. But if it's, I don't like what you said, you don't deserve to ever talk again, that's a problem. And as he has stated, and I believe this was a quote, when you take away a person's, actually it says a man, if you take away a man's ability to support his family, to make money, you may as well have killed him. And that's true. And that's what is happening. Now, this video alone, just because of what I'm talking about, might get taken down. It's probably not even going to be monetized. I might not even risk that. I just wanted to talk about it because I really enjoyed this special. I thought it was hilarious. Dave is one of the greatest, if not the greatest comedian of all time, and at least modern history, for sure. There's a lot of incredibly good comedians. I love Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, Joe Rogan, Bill Burr. There's a few other guys that I've listened to a million times and I just don't remember their names offhand, you know. And they all talk about the absurdities of life, absurdities of their own experiences, and half the time it's offensive and stupid, and it's meant to laugh, it's meant to make you feel good. And if you watch this special, you will see a particular set of women. There are two women in the audience who are laughing early on, and then once he gets to a certain point, they're not laughing anymore. They're angry. And it's fine if you don't like it, but you don't have a right to keep him from saying it. Because if you're allowed to talk, he's allowed to talk. It's the way it works. But I just wanted to throw that out there. just it was a fun review watching things. I think we're gonna watch Squid Game tomorrow. We'll see what happens. We got a few things to do around the house. It's the new big thing, so I want to watch it. I'm remotely interested in it. If the wife isn't, then I'll watch it alone, and I'll probably talk about it just because. And a lot of other people are watching it, and I'm interested in the concept of the show. But if you like comedy, if you like Dave Chappelle, and you haven't watched this, find a way to watch it, whether you have Netflix or watch it through a buddy's. I don't care. Watch it. It's worth it. I'm gonna go back and watch. I did not watch at least the last one he did. I remember everybody talking about it, and that one having controversy. I think surrounding the same problem. So I need to go watch that. And it's not that I'm transphobic and joining in his tearing down of them. It's not that. I just find what he says funny and pretty true, if even on a slight exaggeration side, because half the time it's hard to know when a comedian is exaggerating a story or it's 100% true. But at that point, you have to push it to a higher level sometimes to get people to listen and understand. So, but I'll catch you guys later. Remember, as always, just keep on laughing. We've had too much misery to not laugh. Let's find some stuff to laugh about.